Hello and welcome to our special coverage of China's Shenzhou 18 launch. I'm Li Qiuyuan, joining you live in Beijing. In about 3 hours, a Long March 2F rocket carrying the Shenzhou 18 spacecraft with 3 taikonauts on board will lift off from northwestern China's Gansu province, bound for the Tiangong Space Station in orbit. The 3 taikonauts are Commander Jiuquan and crew members Li Cong and Li Guangsu. They will take over duties in space from their Shenzhou 17 peers and live aboard the Tiangong for about 6 months. Shenzhou 18 is the 32nd flight mission of China's manned space program, which began over 30 years ago. Shenzhou 18 is the 3rd manned mission of the Tiangong Space Station's application and development stage. And joining me here in the studio are Professor Jiuquan, Vice Chair of the International Astronautical Federation Space Transportation Committee, and Professor Sui Yanan, Associate Professor of the School of Aerospace Engineering in Tsinghua University. Welcome to you both. Pleasure to have you on. Now let's get the latest on the ground. We can go live to our correspondent Zheng Yibing joining us at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Great to see you there, Yibing. We are just less than 3 hours to go till the launch. What's the mood there? How's it going with the team? How are the taikonauts preparing for the launch?
Well, yes, Qiuyuan, when we're talking about the atmosphere, well, we can see the answers from the faces of audiences around here in this Yuan Square. Well, they're so excited and happy. And today there were 2 spectator seats beside me. On my left side, there are audiences from the all working systems. They're waving the flowers and flags to each other, trying to cheer up for the Chinese taikonauts. And they are from also the children from the middle school and primary school of this area of the launch center. On my right side, there are also hundreds of people. They're mainly reporters and journalists, not only from China, but also from across the world. They're ready to record an exciting moment of the setting out of the Shenzhou 18 crew members. When we're talking about the Shenzhou 18 crew members, yesterday morning, we met them inside Wentiange, the living compound for the Chinese taikonauts, to stay and work during their stay at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. There are the Commander Jiuquan and crew member Li Cong and Li Guangsu. Well, yesterday we talked to them about a lot of the feelings and excitement. And another thing I want to share with you is we heard the 3 crew members have had a very good meal with delicious Chinese cuisines, including the steamed stuffed bun, which is called in Chinese baozi, which has the auspicious meaning the victory for this mission. Another thing I want to share with you is the big screen behind me in the distance. During the previous missions, we usually see the big posters showing the various Shenzhou mission, but this time we see it is replaced with a big LED screen. And it has 2 functions. On the one hand, it's going to show the new Shenzhou 18 crew members, and also it is going to provide audiences at Yuan Square with a live footage of the entire launch mission. So it is really good design. In less than 10 minutes, the setting out ceremony for the Shenzhou 18 crew members will be held here. So we're going to wait here and keep you updated. Back to you.
Yeah, we're standing by for that takeoff ceremony. Thank you so much, Yibing, live for us at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Now, to learn more about the spacecraft carrying out the Shenzhou 18 mission, our reporter Zheng Yibing talked to a senior researcher for the spacecraft system.
The Shenzhou 18 is a 3rd manned spacecraft for mission to China's space station. It has the same design as Shenzhou 16, 17, and the following 19 spacecraft.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live countdown and launch coverage of Shenzhou 18, a 3 taikonaut crew mission heading to the Tiangong Space Station from China. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the launch pad, and here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and you're looking at one of 2 feeds we'll be pulling from, bringing you full coverage here today. We're waiting for the 2nd pad feed to begin, as we are now T minus 2 hours, 52 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting till launch. If you haven't yet, take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from as well. Take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us. It's a rare opportunity to get to see a launch out of China, but today we will see the launch of a Long March 2F launch vehicle. This will be the 23rd launch of this vehicle, and it'll be launching from Site 901 or SLS-1 at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in China. Shenzhou 18 will mark the 13th crewed Chinese spaceflight in history and the 18th flight of the Shenzhou program. The spacecraft will carry 3 taikonauts on the 7th flight to the Tiangong Space Station. The crew will consist of, and I apologize for saying these wrong right off the bat, Yi Gangfu, Li Kong, and Li Guangshu. They will be staying up on the space station for an estimated about 6-month time. The Long March 2F vehicle stands a total of 58.34 meters tall, with a fairing that's 19 meters, and in that fairing is where the Shenzhou spacecraft is. The fairing stands in diameter of 3.6 meters. Today's vehicle is a 2-stage launch vehicle, which also has 4 strap-on boosters on the side, and is being operated by the CASC. Now, we are awaiting the crew's departure from the crew area. That is, we saw those live camera feeds earlier, awaiting for the walkout of the crew. Once we have those live views, we will, of course, patch them in and listen and see the sights and sounds of the Shenzhou crew getting ready to head out to the pad and to their spacecraft in preparation for today's flight. Now, as always, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those live to the best of our ability. They are currently targeting a liftoff time of 12:59 GMT or 20:59 Beijing time. Now, if you have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. We'll work on answering those. Also, make sure to take a moment and join us over on the TLP Discord. That's where the community hangs out in between streams, and we would love to see you in there. Also, if you're interested in becoming part of the TLP crew, consider taking a moment, filling out an application. Interviews are now underway, and we'd love to invite some more of you to join our crew as we continue to expand and bring you the best possible coverage of everything space. We have some amazing things coming up in the year ahead, with more opportunities appearing every week, and we can't wait to tell you more about some of the places we will be taking you absolutely all around the world over the next 12 to 18 months. Also, if you had seen a preview of our Starbase live camera, stay tuned. That will be relaunching later this week, as well as stand by for the new, all brand new TLPnetwork.com coming in the near future as well. Now, you're looking at a live view where the crew walkout is expected to begin as they give their final farewell and our final approval to head to the launch site. It's a very formal event, so let's listen in.
The Shenzhou 18 flight crew, flight commander Jiuquan standing in the middle with flight crew Li Chong and Li Guangsu. And you can hear the loud cheer from the crowd. I mean, there's no red carpet here, but this certainly feels like a red carpet event. Lots of excitement here. The vibe is electric. I mean, this is a shared experience that we're all enjoying right now as people across China and the world are watching this together, and that's wonderful.
Comrade Commander-in-Chief, we are following the order to carry out Shenzhou 18 manned spaceflight mission. Now we are ready to go. Please indicate. Member of PLA Astronaut Corps, Taikonaut, Ye Guangfu, Taikonaut, Li Cong, Taikonaut, Li Guangsu. Proceed. Yes. Salute.
After declaring their mission and given a go-ahead by the chief commander, the 3 astronauts are waving to the crowds. They're going to pose for the camera for a bit before taking off. Really a mix of veteran astronauts and newcomers, and quite a young team as well. All of them were born in the 80s, so they're in their 30s and 40s. Flight Commander Jiuquan just got back from the space station about 2 years ago, but this will be his first time taking the role of flight commander. He's shouldering more responsibility this time. Was born in 1980. He's from Sichuan province in South China. Well, he had trained for 11 years before making that first trip to space in 2022. And flight engineer Liftoff was born in 1989. He is from Hebei province, used to be a fighter jet pilot, and became an astronaut in 2020. And guess what? He once said in an interview he wanted to be a singer when he was little, so I bet he can sing really well. Then you've got Li Guangsu. He was born in 1987. Is from Jiangsu province, used to be a pilot from the Air Force as well, and became an astronaut in 2020, just as Li Cong did. So the two had been training together for quite some time. That's Mr. Yang Liwei, the first astronaut in China has ever been to space. Crowds are cheering for them, wishing for them good luck and a smooth flight. They are waving to the crowd, smiling. Big smile on their face, waving confidently. And they're hopping on that minibus, which will take them to the launch pad. It'll take about 15 minutes for the van to get to the launch pad. Looks to me they are in quite a good spirit there. A thumbs up for us. Once again, the second time for Mr. Ye Guangfu there. I guess he is quite familiar with the drill, huh? Because, yeah. The weather seems to be pretty nice. Clear sky.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at live views of the 3 taikonauts now on board their crew transport vehicle, preparing to take the 15-minute journey out to Site 901 or SLS-1, where they will board their Long March 2F rocket with the Shenzhou spacecraft on board, preparing for the 18th operational Shenzhou mission and the 13th Shenzhou crew mission, heading up today to the Tiangong Space Station to replace and release the Shenzhou 17 crew who have been in orbit for the last 5 to 6 months. If you're just joining us, though, take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. Make sure you engage that like button as well. Share out the stream. We'll be bringing you full live commentary coverage for the next 2 hours and 45 minutes as we follow the Shenzhou 18 crew to orbit. If you've never watched a China launch before, thank you for joining us. Definitely stay tuned, follow along, as it's truly incredible. We don't get to see a lot of China launches, but for these crew launches, we get an amazing glimpse into everything that they go through. We will now have drone and helicopter footage of the crew as they make their way from the crew quarter area where this farewell has been taking place out to the pad, and some incredible views as they board their spacecraft as well. We're going to be answering your comments and questions as we continue through today's stream. So if you have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we'll work on answering those live. I know we got people tuning in all over the world, and it's great to have you all joining us here. I know we got Michael tuning in from Germany. It's great to see you. I see we've also got Southern New Hampshire, I believe it is. Bright early morning start for you. I know we've got Florida, Maryland, more Germany, UK. Let's see, we got Arkansas. Great to see you all tuning in with us here this morning as we are now T-minus 2 hours, 43 minutes, 52 seconds, and counting till launch.
Is in June and July, so that's very beautiful.
You know, that's the poplar forest.
You know, I believe you've also been there before. You know, that's the first time I saw the Milky Way with my naked eyes. Wow. So you can imagine how clear the sky is. But this season, you know that April, usually it is a sandy season. There are strong wind, and also there are sometimes sandstorms. And
you're looking at a landmark structure. This is called the Space Memorial Tower. It's more than 30 meters tall. The tower is pointing to the sky, symbolizing Chinese people's dream of exploring space. And you can see on the street more people cheering for them. These are the ground staffs, their family members. Students go to school here at the Space City.
It's also a good time after school, right? So the students, they actually all the students
can hear the cheers from the students. They're in their school uniform. And it's that there are thousands of people there to see the astronauts off. They also include representatives from different organizations. There's only about 7 to 8 kilometers from the Wentian Hall to the launch tower. It's not that far. Because they're going at a relatively slower speed, the whole trip is going to take 15 minutes or so.
Yes, because you know that Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center is more than 1,000 kilometers to the west of Beijing. So you know that here in Beijing is already in the evening, but still in the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center is still in the afternoon. So you can see it's still very bright. We can see the good view of the sightseeing of the near the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Although it is in the Gobi Desert, as you mentioned, but you know that it is in the, actually speaking, in the Alashan area of in the Mongolia. So there are some Gobi Desert near, but also the terrain is very flat. So it is an ideal place for not only the launch, but also for the landing.
Now that structure you're seeing is the Shenzhou Friendship Bridge, also known as the Rainbow Bridge by the locals. It's in the shape of a spaceship, symbolizing the brave spirit of the Shenzhou manned missions. Normally, what would be the schedule on a launch day for them before the launch? I mean, they must have had dinner by now, right? They had to put on the spacesuit, right?
Yeah.
They have to put on the suit 3 hours prior to the
you know
launch.
that with the development of our technologies, it's already been very, very practical than before, and also we have already have very good experience on that. So their what the food they will eat has already been well prepared, and also will consider about their own their favorite. You mentioned that Mr. Yi Guangfu is from Sichuan province, so I believe that he will have some maybe spicy food.
They've also gone through what we call level 3 medical quarantine ahead of the launch. They have to keep a certain distance from people who have not been under quarantine, right?
Exactly. So that's very, very necessary. So keep them healthy is very, very important to ensure the safety and also ensure the success of the whole mission. That's very, very important. So the quarantine is not only conducted before the flight, but also when they get back, because you know that their immune system will be relatively weak after they experience microgravity more than half a year. So the quarantine procedure after they came back is also necessary.
Now, the Dongfeng Aerospace City is massive. You've been there, Professor.
Yes.
It's got everything, right? There are schools for kids to go to, there are hotels,
although
all
it's not
kinds of
very big,
restaurants.
but it has everything.
Everything, even karaoke's, you know, for the astronauts or the ground staffs, for our heroes to have a bit of fun after work.
Yeah.
And that's great. And the name of the hotels and streets are quite fun, like Space Road or Universe Road.
Yeah. And also, you know, that's the apartment they stay for the astronaut called Wentiangge. So it's also the place where we Chinese people fulfill our dream to go to the outer space.
Do we know who are sitting on the van with the astronauts usually? Medics? Or support staff?
Yes, what you mentioned, the staff, it belongs to what we call the astronaut system. The astronaut system not only in charge of the manufacturing of the EVA and IVA spacesuits, but also in charge of the health monitoring and also other issues related to the astronauts themselves.
The suits look pretty heavy. How much do they weigh?
Not very heavy. You see, this is what we've seen is the IVA spacesuit. They only wear this suit inside the cabin. When they go out, they will wear the what called the Feitian 2 EVA spacesuit. That's much heavier, more than 100 kilograms. But for the IVA spacesuit, is only the second protection to keep it safe from the vacuum condition. You know that's because it must have a airtight sealing when their face mask is closed. So you know usually they need a ventilation device, very, very small. You may remember during the setup ceremony years before, the astronaut, the crew hold a small box. So that is the ventilation device. But today it's already improved, so it can hold it here on their wrist, so their hands are free.
Yeah, they no longer need to carry that portable air conditioning ventilator.
It's a portable device with batteries and ventilation fans, but today they don't need to hold it by their hands.
That's a very nice improvement. And what do we know about the makeup of the crew? I mean, they make a great combination, right? Do we know what kind of assignments will be assigned to them respectively?
Yes, we do have some very reasonable consideration about it. You know, this time we have the same configuration like the Shenzhou 17 crew. The commander is a veteran from the second batch of our astronauts and who already have the experience in our Tiangong Space Station, and 2 newcomers from the third batch of our astronauts. Both of them are very, very young. You see, they are very young means that they have more chance in the future to have other missions, maybe more challenging. And because they've already have the experience in outer space for half a year today, so they are well trained and qualified for the future challenging missions. So this is the reason. And I believe after this Shenzhou 18 mission, the 2 newcomers will also become veterans, and they probably can also be chosen as a commander in the future missions.
Do we know about their personalities? I mean, who's the one that likes to crack a few jokes? Who is the serious one?
Well, that's
because you've met some of the astronauts
you can read from
before,
the
right?
you can read from the social media that there is a nickname of this crew. It is called a smooth crew, because that they cooperate so great, so that even with a very single gesture, the crew member can understand what the other one means. So you can see how perfect they work together. And also, that Mr. Ye Guangfu has, or as you introduced, he is a previous crew member of the Shenzhou 30 mission. And during, that Shenzhou 30 mission, actually speaking, is until now is the most difficult mission for the China's astronaut. That it is the first time the Chinese astronauts stay in outer space for half a year. But that the difference is today our Tiangong Space Station have 3 modules. The inner volume is more than 100 cubic meters, very, very big. But that during the Shenzhou 30 mission, they only have 1 module, the Tianhe 1 core module, and they need to stay there for half a year, the first time. So it's really tough for them.
We can already see the launch tower from afar. Let's also take a look at the features of the rocket. The Long March 2F Y-18 manned carrier rocket is taking the Shenzhou 18 crew to space. A veteran rocket developer tells CGTN Sun Ye what makes this model and China's famous Long March rocket family so reliable. Here at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, there are all kinds of rockets and all kinds of rocket launches. There are Long March 4Cs, Long March 2Cs, Long March 2Ds, and many more. In fact, in the 5 years between 2018 and 2023, there are over 100 rocket launches in this Satellite Launch Center alone. But whenever the Long March 2F manned carrier rocket rolls out, it is always a true phenomenon. Even here.
每一发任务都参与。
Liu Hailong, who has worked on the model for over 10 years, says the most important quality of Long March 2F rockets is this: they are the safest and extremely reliable.
可以说，
什么叫做任何问题都能解决？
就是我们。
We have every scenario sorted out. This model is designed and developed to meet all the needs of the carry-ons. We have plans for every hypothetical scenario of things going wrong. Taikonauts will be safe whatever happens. No problem can occur.
我们的航天员的安全。
它无论什么轨迹，它都是安全的。
对不同的。
It is safe in whatever trajectory it follows, whatever heights it at, whatever speed it travels in. It will meet all safety requirements all the time.
Liu also says the rocket gets better with each mission. In fact, it gets better drawing on the experiences of other Long March rocket missions.
因为我们长征火箭是一个家族。
The Long March rockets are one family. They belong in the same series. While the number of launches of our Long March 2F rocket is relatively few, we draw lessons from other tasks performed by the Long March series of rockets. This is also a fundamental reason for the improvement in technical status and even better reliability. This is a key feature of the industry. We compare and maintain consistency across the board, as there are many shared aspects for this family of rockets.
It's not just here at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Across China's several launch centers, we get the feeling that the space development is picking up speed fast. This year in 2024, China is planning around 100 rocket launches in total. That's including new models like Long March 6C and Long March 12. And later this year, there's another Long March 2F manned carrier rocket that will launch from here, the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. 孙烨 CGTN 酒泉甘肃 Province. As you can see in that live picture, the Shenzhou 18 crew is being transferred to the launch pad. They're getting really close. And talk to us more about the rocket, Professor Sui. So the chief designer of the Long March 2F rocket actually went to the same university as you did, right? You guys all went to Tsinghua University, and you've actually met him before. Talk to us about it.
I actually met her. I think when she go back on campus to give talks to introduce her work. Yeah, the reporters introduced quite a few different rockets, but still the Long March 2F is the most stable and is the very good one. So we choose that for the manned spaceship. Those events, yeah. So over the years, I think it's about 25 years of the development and the use of this Long March 2F rocket. During the years, the system is actually keep improving. You know that for spaceships, for rockets, we're not gonna make, say, very tremendous new designs from time to time. We're gonna have incremental, step-by-step improvements of the system. Yeah, so over the years, we see the engines keep improving, the structure, reliability, and the materials keep improving, the electronics getting better and better, and also in recent year, the level of autonomy or intelligent control is increasing also pretty fast. Yeah.
So yeah, over the years, a number of upgrades has been made to the rocket, right, to improve its reliability and safety of a launch. And in fact, this rocket has never failed a crewed mission before. The escape tower has never been used, and that's a really good tracking record, isn't it, Professor?
Exactly. You see, Qiuyan, you know that the Long March 2F is what we call a 2.5-stage rocket. So it is a mid-sized rocket with the core stage have a diameter of 3.35 meters, which was widely used by the Long March 2, Long March 3, and the Long March 4 series in China. And you know that's the it also has 4 boosters, each with a diameter of 2.25 meters. So this is,
you can see the crew has arrived at the launch pad, waving to cameras. They will be going into that elevator that's going to take them to the 9th floor at the launch tower. The launch tower hasn't fully opened, so you cannot see the rockets just yet. But later, as we get close to the launch, the retractable platforms will open up, revealing the rocket.
So together with them, you will see the ground team from 2 systems mainly. One from what we already discussed, the astronaut system, who are in charge of carrying the health conditions of the astronauts, maintenance of the IVA spacesuits, and also we have the team from the spaceship system. So they will help the astronauts to configure the status of the spacecraft and also check if everything is okay.
Yeah, and the launch tower is made of steel to withstand extreme forces during a rocket launch, so it's said to be extremely stable. The astronauts are in an explosion-proof elevator as well. And you can see the white tube, right? That's an escape tube, isn't it? Emergency escape tube.
Yes, exactly. Not only the astronauts, but also, you know, that the ground staff, if anything wrong happens, you know, that at this moment, it's already begin, I believe that maybe completes the fueling procedure. It's full of propellant, so very, very dangerous. And also, you know, that's the, what you mentioned, the escape tower is actually is a solid rocket motor. So also full of explosives. So if anything wrong happened, the ground staff and the astronaut can escape from the from this tube and go very, very fast descent to a closer place, which keeps them safe.
Yeah, we're about 2.5 hours from liftoff. We can see some ground staffs are still working at the tower. What are some of the major tasks that are being conducted now at the launch tower?
Yeah, part of the team from the rocket system. So you know that they still have a lot of work to ensure not only the safety and also the normal condition of the rocket itself, but also you know that some of the ground staff belongs to the launch site system. you know that the launch complex we are talking about is also very, very complex. The launch tower have many critical actions during the whole launch procedure. For instance, as you already mentioned, the rotational platforms must be opened one by one. And you know that the motors must be in good condition. And also, you may notice that there are many arms close to the rocket. So there are also many pipes. Oh, the astronauts already reached the first near the
entrance of
ferry.
the spacecraft.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a shot at the entrance. This is the waiting area. So the 3 astronauts will be sitting here for a few minutes, patiently waiting for their final checkups. They're taking their seats there. And there will be supporting staff helping them, taking off protective boots and giving gloves to them.
What you see on the right of the screen is a payload fairing, very huge. The diameter is about 3.8 meters. And also inside this payload fairing, you can see that there is a panel just to connect the payload fairing and also the inner side of the orbital module. The orbital module is on the top of the Shenzhou spaceship. So the astronauts will enter. Oh, this is a video camera monitoring the inside of the Shenzhou spaceship. You can see on the top right is the camera mounted in the orbital module. And on the bottom right is a camera monitoring the re-entry capsule. You can see the 3 seats. And also, you know that they must enter the Shenzhou spaceship from the orbital module and then go down to their seats.
Normally, what kind of final checkups do they go through at this stage?
As I mentioned, there are teams from 2 systems. One is from the astronaut system. As you already say, as you already said, that you know that the astronaut system are in charge of the IVA spacesuit. So they will help the astronaut to ensure that the status of the IVA spacesuit is okay. And also, as you mentioned, they will take off their boots. And also, when go inside the Shenzhou spaceship, the team from the Shenzhou Spacecraft system will help the astronauts. You know that at this moment, maybe there are still the ground staff from the Shenzhou spaceship system. And you know that just several hours before the flight, as Mr. Sui has mentioned, their biological samples, the fish and all the other things, only at this moment they can be brought into the cabin. Because you know that these are living things. They need a very critical condition, a very critical requirement for them.
Any breakthroughs in terms of upgrading the spacecraft that you could share with us?
I think based on the nature of aerospace and say those astral, it's very rare to see, say, on the infrastructure level, a huge difference comparing to the last version. Yeah, but scientifically, as Professor Yang mentioned, this mission will have over 90 scientific experiments, which is significantly more, and I would say will be more complicated, complex.
You can see the ground staff. They're helping the astronauts taking off their protective boots. They do not need to wear those boots when they're in the spacecraft, huh?
Yes. So I believe this ground staff belongs to the astronaut system. Most come from the China's Astronaut Center in Beijing Space City.
In what orders will they be going in?
Oh, you may notice on the right there are some ground staff wearing white uniform. They belong to the spaceship system. They are also checking the status of the spaceship and also do a lot of preparations. Probably that's also some cargos.
So we're hearing words. They will be entering the spacecraft in about 5 minutes.
Usually just before the flight, maybe also at this moment, the whole system also repeating some rehearsal or some simulation of the flight procedure. So maybe not only one time, maybe several times to ensure that the whole procedure goes very smoothly.
And you mentioned the spacecraft has the orbital module, the re-entry capsule. It actually has 3 modules, right?
Exactly.
Why is it being designed that way?
You know that this is some historical reasons. You know that during the early era of China aerospace, we don't have much experience on re-entry spacecraft with a very huge diameter. So we must design a spacecraft, the Shenzhou spaceship, with a relatively small diameter, about 2.5 meters. So that is the diameter we chosen. Okay, what we heard is a simulation of the flight. And you know that because the T-minus 30 degrees, 30 seconds during the simulation.
They are going through everything
exactly.
Except for the final step.
And you know that because at that era, 2.5 meters is already, for Earth, is really very big. But for the astronauts, it's really, really narrow for 3 people. So we don't have choice but to make another module to provide additional space for the astronauts in outer space. So that is the reason.
That's the mock countdown.
Yeah, a simulation, not the real one.
Yeah, it's a test.
Yeah.
Looks like everything is going good.
And the voice we heard is called the real liftoff moment, because you know that China choose a different system comparing with other countries. The time zero in other countries with the moment of liftoff, but in China, zero means ignition, so it's different. So that is the reason every time after the liftoff, so you may hear this voice to report the real liftoff time.
And I guess that'll be a very exciting moment for the 2 new astronauts that'll be soon board the spacecraft for their mission. What kind of trainings do these astronauts go through, Professor Sui? Do we know?
They actually need to go through a lot of training procedures, ranging from the study of basic math, mechanics, science, and also physical trainings. And because you see in the space for 6 months or so, they basically need to do everything by themselves. Yeah, they need to know the equipments very well. They need to know how to do the scientific experiments. They need to be able to deal with any type of emergencies. All of these need to be trained before the launch of this mission.
And talk to us more about their lives in space, right? Do they have a daily routine in space? I mean, what factors are taken into consideration?
I think
creating such routine.
Yeah, it's going to be different from our daily living on Earth, but they still need to keep their clock, their biological clock, right? So as Professor Yang mentioned, they've already had their dinner. They're not gonna have dinner right now or at say 7 p.m. or something. Yeah. Before the launch, they're trying to fit their new biological clock. Yeah, just like that. If we are flying to Europe, we are gonna have a time difference. They're gonna fit their time difference and their new clock in space right before the launch of the mission.
Yeah, they probably have to stay up all night today. Huh?
Not exactly. You see that they will only stay in the Shenzhou spacecraft for 6.5 hours before the docking. So we've already chosen the faster rendezvous and docking. The astronauts today is already very, very convenient than before. You know that during the first crewed rendezvous and docking mission in the Shenzhou 9 mission and the Shenzhou 10 mission, the astronauts need to stay in the Shenzhou spacecraft for about 2 days. So that's a little bit tough because you know that the inner volume is really, really small, very, very narrow space. So not so comfortable when they compare with their time in the space station. And it is very interesting, you know, that in other countries, especially since the start of the manned space era, you know that they have formed the tradition. The male astronauts will, during their trip from their hotel to the launch pad, they will stop in a certain point and pee to the view of the ground vehicle. So they've already formed this tradition since Gagarin, the first flight.
And what kind of impact will it have on the astronauts living in space for 6 months?
Actually speaking, they will face this very crucial condition, and we must be well considered and well trained for this. The first one is the loss of bones, because of you don't have any stimulation from the gravity, so your bones will be weaker and weaker, and not only your bones, but also your cardiovascular system and muscles and your neural system. So we must be well trained for that. So the physical exercise is extremely important for the astronaut to keep them healthy and to ensure their safety, especially during the return. Because you know that not only during the liftoff, but also during the return, they will experience the G forces normally about 3 to 4 times your greater than your own mass, and also the intensive vibration will also they must adapt that and be well trained about that.
And they can work out there up in space,
Absolutely.
right? They have treadmills up there.
But that's yes, and also that the challenge is the training is not only solving the problem you met during the normal process, and also it's more tough to training of the abnormal cases. For instance, what I mentioned, the G forces in emergency escape will reach to about 8 to 10 times your own mass. So you can see how tough it is. And for the, that's all the 3 crew members are chosen as categorized as the pilots. For the pilots, not only you must be normal during this 8 to 10 G, but also they must have the capability to do any operations at these circumstances. So that's a real, very tough, challenging training for them. Moreover, you see, they can survive at least for 2 days in a very, very unfriendly environment. For instance, they were trained in the Badan-Jilin Desert for 2 days. Every member, no exception, can survive. They only have very limited supplies. So this training are also very necessary.
And what else has been done on the front of health management for the crew?
Yeah, they actually need to go through, as we mentioned, their quarantine is actually trying to keep them healthy before the launch. And before that, they actually have good diet, good healthy training, and sports training, and a lot of different, say, medication observations, monitoring, making sure that they are healthy. Yeah, because when they are in the space, they can only have telemedicine with our medical doctors on Earth, right? So a lot of treatments will not be available in the space.
So they do have medical support when they're up there.
Yes, not only during their flight in the orbit, but also before and after the flight. So the medical team is a very big team, not only monitoring their biological parameters, but also doing a lot of things, such as, for instance, design such as you mentioned, the diet, and also their daily schedule. Usually, that's just when the time is close to their return, they will increase their exercise every day. Because that after half the year in orbit, even if you already have so much exercise, and even if you will have a very good nutrition, but still you need to enhance your bones, your strength, your muscles during the return procedure. Because you must face not only the normal return, also the G forces will be 3 to 4 G. But in the abnormal cases, it will be very, very tough for them. And my friends, Miss Yi Yan from Korea, also experienced
there you have
this.
it. I think this is one of the astronauts. I think this is Li Guangcong standing up. Li Guangsu.
Li Guangsu, 03.
03.
03, the code is
That's
03.
Code number.
He will enter first. Because the commander needs to sit in the middle, so he must be the last one.
So Li Guangsu is sliding in to this is the orbital module, and then he will descend to the re-entry module.
That every time they have some personal private belongings. Mr. Li Guangsu mentioned that he will borrow some toys of his kid.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, you can see that the ground staff from the probably the Shenzhou Space System in the orbital module help the astronauts.
It's not easy to get in, huh?
Yes, exactly. Very, very, you can see very, very narrow space. Now this is a camera in the re-entry capsule.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here. We are at T-minus 2 hours, 13 minutes, 50 seconds and counting. And Shenzhou 18 crew ingress has begun. You are seeing live views from outside in the White Room and then into the 2 different capsules that are part of today's spacecraft. You can see the first taikonaut getting into their seat there, seeing how snug it is, very similar to a Soyuz, very tight space. There is the second one giving a final wave and preparing to slide into the spacecraft here. We're going to continue listening in to live commentary coverage coming in from China as they walk us through crew ingress, but if you have questions, take a moment, let us know in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. We're working on answering those live. Share out the stream, invite people to join us, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage. Let's listen back in and watch these incredible views as Shenzhou 18 boards their spacecraft.
Their tool has a very important task.
What is it?
Yeah. During the landing, he is in charge of the button to cut off the parachute.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a very important task.
Very, very important. During the history, we only have a perfect landing vertically during the Shenzhou 6 mission and the Shenzhou 13 mission. Only in these two missions, the Shenzhou re-entry capsule stands there vertically.
So the other ones, they landed on the side?
Yeah, they lie down. That a vertical landing will be more comfort. But this raises a very high requirement to the parachute cutter.
There's a yellow bag there with some manuals and necessary checkup stuffs in there.
Yeah, and Mr. Li Cong is the youngest guy in this crew, only 35 years old. Okay,
now
commander.
The flight commander, Ye Guangfu.
This is second mission, and Mr. Ye Guangfu will break the record of the duration of stay in outer space for our Chinese technonauts.
Yeah, a very short gap between the two missions, huh?
Yes, not only the gap,
2 years, 9 days.
He's already in outer space for half a year. So this is another half a year. So after this mission, he will stay the first astronaut in China that stay in the orbit for 1 year.
Look at that, a record breaker.
A record breaker, yes.
Now, what's different for him is that he will be staying in the orbital module for a bit, completing the final status checks, as he is the flight commander.
Yeah.
After all the final checkups, he will descend into the re-entry module.
Yeah. So this is we see that these cameras.
我是北京华山群讲，华山3小时准备完毕。北京明白。
We're a little over 2 hours till
T
the
minus
lift
3
off.
hours preparation has already been done.
Yep. I mean, they will be staying in the spacecraft for more than 2 hours before the blast off.
Yes.
What kind of procedures will they go through at this stage?
Well, there are a lot of work to do. So first, when all the 3 crew members has already entered the re-entry capsule, they must, with the help of the ground staff, they must close the hatch between the orbital module and the re-entry capsule. And then the hatch on the side of the orbital module will also be closed. And then another hatch on the payload ferry. So there are 3 hatches they need to close. And also, during this procedure, we must check if it is already formed what we call the airtight sealings. So keep the pressure of the inner volumes atmosphere is extremely critical to ensure the safety and life of our astronauts. And also, not only the airtight sealing of the cabin will be examined, but also their IVA spacesuit. After they close their helmet, face mask, they will also check this.
So on your right, we are seeing a great look of what's inside the re-entry module. That is where the 3 astronauts will be staying. Talk to us more about what are we seeing inside that capsule. What is that big yellow bag hanging on the wall?
There are some cargoes together with the astronauts. Not only we need these cargoes for maybe because what you asked is in the re-entry capsule. So in the re-entry capsule, we also have some supplies for emergency escape, either during the liftoff or during the return. Because that in emergency case, they may splash down in the ocean or land in the desert. So they must have the supplies to, for instance, the food and water, and that even they have the pistol. A gun to protect them from the beast, wild beasts they may meet.
Do they have a lifeboat in there?
Yes, actually, very, very professional. The China cooperates with ESA in many years before, conducted a rescue training in the near the Shandong province, in the actually in the Yellow Sea or near the Bohai. So this kind of training, they have a lifeboat, which can be inflamed very soon to save the lives of our astronauts in the ocean.
You can see all the 3 astronauts are seated by now. They're putting on their seat belts, their protection belts.
The yellow bags you see has also another very important function to adjust the position of the center of the mass of our re-entry capsule. Because you know that during the re-entry, the position of the centroid or the center of the mass is also very important to adjust a right trajectory of our re-entry procedure.
And right in front of their seats is a control panel.
Yes.
The buttons on that control panel are generally bigger than the usual ones.
Because they usually wear their gloves.
Gloves.
So they must have big buttons.
Yeah, and they're further apart as well.
Yeah. And Mr. Ye Guangfu, the commander, sits in the middle. So in an emergency case, he is in charge of the judgment of the right choice.
They're putting all the stuff into that yellow bag, and that'll be removed from the re-entry module.
You may also notice that at this moment, all their helmets are open. Their face masks are open. But they will check if it can form an airtight sealing. If anything wrong happens to the IVA spacesuit, there will also be a termination of the mission. Because you know that this is a second protection. Although this is a backup measure to ensure their safety, but still very, very important.
But this type of emergency stop never happened, right?
Yeah, never happened for us with China before.
Right.
But they do have a tragedy in the Soyuz 11 missions. You know, that during the Soyuz 11 missions in 1971, the 3 cosmonauts lost their lives because they don't have IVA spacesuits.
I would imagine they have to go through a number of emergency trainings, right? Tons of emergency trainings. Whereas there is an emergency in space, you don't really have much time to think. They have to make immediate actions. I mean, what types of major emergencies are out there at the space station?
Quite right. Not only what you mentioned, but also you know that in this emergency situation, how to breathe, they also must be trained for this. And also, you know that it's relatively safe when they already in the orbit. But still, you know that I can still remember that during the Shenzhou 7 mission, there is a fake signal of the sensors so Mr. Jing Haipeng called that there is a fire in the orbital module. So you can see how dangerous it is.
Yeah, fire, depressurization, leak of ammonia.
Yeah,
those are some
exactly.
of the risks.
Yeah. So what you mentioned, the leakage of the pipe is also a very important task for this Shenzhou 18 mission, because they will provide some protections during the EVA for the pipes and also the cables outside our Tiangong Space Station. Because we cannot afford that if any space debris hits these very critical parts.
What are they doing now? It looks like they're connecting some kind of pipes, tubes.
Yes, you know that there are all kinds of safety belt for them. They must fasten all the safety belts for them, because not only they will experience the G forces, but also have the intensive vibration during the ascent stage. And also they must check if everything goes okay. Not only what we already discussed about the IVA spacesuit, but also everything inside their cabin. You can see there are all kinds of instruments around them. We just heard the voice that the ground team is checking the theoretical trajectory of the rocket. So it is normal. All the procedures for the T-3 hours preparation has already been accomplished.
Yeah. Actually, in about 3 to 4 minutes, it's going to be T-2 hours. We're getting closer to the blast off.
So the launch procedure is not only the business of the spacecraft or the astronauts, but a big system. The whole system includes not only the launch site, the Shenzhou spacecraft, the rocket, but also the telemetry control and also other communication stations in China, and also some of space tracking ships in the Pacific Ocean.
Do they have entertainment activities other than work? Do they have off days when they're in space?
Well, you see that I can still remember that Mr. Yu Guangfu, you know that he's a former crew member of the Shenzhou 30 mission. I can still remember that during the just several hours before the Shenzhou 30 mission, Yaping, who is also the crew member of the Shenzhou 30 mission, just posted in the WeChat moment. It is a good entertainment for her.
Oh, yeah.
But this also shows that she's full of confidence. Even at this moment, she can post the WeChat moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that long stick Yu Guangfu is using.
So that's because you know that will be fastened the seat belt in the basin, and if they want to push the buttons, they use this one.
What kind of food will they have up there? Do they get to choose their own meal plans?
They also have food inside this re-entry capsule, but they don't have the heaters to eat the hot food at this stage, because that's the what we call a kitchen is in the orbital module. So only when they already come into the orbit and open the hatch between the orbital module and the re-entry capsule, at this moment they can have some hot food.
And I suppose they cannot take showers when they're up there, huh?
Not only during this flight in the Shenzhou spaceship, but also no chance in the space station. They will wipe their skin.
Sponge bath.
Yeah, exactly.
Professor Ni earlier mentioned that how will they be, having haircuts?
Right.
They will help each other. Each was trained for this.
So they do a lot of training. Yeah, you can see
stuff.
all kinds of training for their daily life, for very professional missions, right?
To just daily life tasks.
Yeah, daily life tasks could be very different in space in those microgravity conditions, right? And if you are not well trained, some very regular behaviors on Earth with regular gravity might be very dangerous in space, actually. Yeah.
Professor Ni, you actually work in the field of AI and brain-computer interface. You mentioned some of the experiments that they are bringing to space include experiments on brain-computer interface.
Right, because they're going to do all kinds of studies, frontier research in the space station. Part of them is actually doing the understanding of human condition, and especially the brain condition. Yeah, the technology of brain-machine interface that a lot of our colleagues at Jiuquan University, at Tianjin University, Shanghai Jiaotong University are doing work on investigating how human brain is actually functioning in space, and can we actually use those to help and monitor the health condition. Yeah.
Okay, we just heard from the ground commander, T-2 hours and counting.
So what kind of experiment outcomes are you most looking forward to?
I'm actually looking forward to the new animal experiments, like the zebrafish experiment I've just explained, and also some stem cell experiments of plants, because that'll lead to new understanding of how are we gonna grow new possible plants on Earth, and also there will be.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at some incredible views from Site 901 or SLS-1 at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, where the crew of Shenzhou 18 is now on board the Shenzhou spacecraft. The internal hatch has been closed, and we're waiting for confirmation of the capsule hatch and fairing hatch being closed, but you're looking at live views as the building retraction has begun. This will happen in a number of stages, revealing today's Long March 2F rocket. You can see see how quickly those arms are beginning to retract open, and we'll be watching that over the next 30 to 45 minutes as each of these sections reveals another part of the Long March 2F in preparation for pad clear and launch. We are now under 2 hours and counting till the 18th operational Shenzhou mission, the 13th crew launch for China up to space. Today's destination, the Tiangong Space Station, the Chinese space station that is currently in low Earth orbit and is currently crewed by Shenzhou 17, who are preparing to return to Earth once Shenzhou 18 arrives. And of course, we will bring you that live coverage as well. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage the like button, share out the stream. If you have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. You can see a little bit of that launch escape system now just peeking out over the top of that first building that has now opened up. This vehicle is a Long March 2F rocket. It stands 58.34 meters tall. It's a two-stage launch vehicle with 4 strap-on boosters, which we'll get a little bit of a better look at coming up. The fairing stands 19.1 meters tall with a 3.6 meter diameter and has the 2 capsule Shenzhou spacecraft on board. They have the launch and recovery capsule, and then they have the on-orbit capsule, which they'll be able to get into in a few hours once they are up in low Earth orbit. But for now, they're strapped into a very small capsule that will ride to space and then eventually in about 6 months' time ride back home. On board the spacecraft, not only is the crew, but a bunch of science and research and food and water heading up to the station, as they always will send extra supplies whenever they are sending a flight. The crew expected to do a lot of research. We heard there a little bit that they're going to be working on AI. There's going to be some animal experiments and a lot more as they too work to explore what it is like working and living in low Earth orbit. Taking a look to see where everyone's watching from, people tuning in from all over the world. It's great seeing you all. We got David in Sweden. Great to see you. I see we've got Signe in Maryland. Great to see you tuning in. Lots of people. Take a moment, let us know in the chat. We'll do some shout outs as we continue through today's live coverage. If you have questions, you can keep sending those in as well. We're waiting for the rest of the launch tower to retract away, and we're going to continue listening in to the launch commentary as we are now L-1 hour, 56 minutes, 5 seconds, and counting till launch.
And we believe that, of course, you compare to economic, the seats that we talk about, that's the age very comfortable for even more comfortable for Taikonaut. So every time when we visited this place to witness the blast off of the Shenzhou aircraft and also the rockets, anything changed this time for this mission specifically? So for Shenzhou, as the manned spaceship, for us it's a mean of transportation. So for us, actually, the whole type or series of the Shenzhou, actually that's already that fixed used for more than 3 decades. For us, the main purpose for these aircraft, the airship, is for sending the Takonauts to the space. Of course, we have made improvements along with the advancement of the technologies. And we talk about each and every improvement that has gone through rounds of tests on ground and also in space. So this time, talking about that the improvements, I believe 2 things I would like to share with you. One thing is the solar panel cells. And this time we changed to the lithium cells. So it can charge even faster and lighter weight and also smaller in size. So for the same continent, actually show more benefits and also actually can get adapted to different kind of environment. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time to talk about that, how that we feel when that Taikonaut sitting inside, and also the improvements made this time for the mission. And we will very soon see that the Takonauts will be in the space and wait for their feelings to share with us. Thank you very much.
Now, Ms. Luo, just share with us what does it feels like to be riding in that spaceship. Now, earlier we've also talked to a rocket expert, and he said that riding the Long March 2F manned carrier rocket, it's something like driving or staying in a Mercedes-Benz. It's comfortable, it's smooth. You only get that extra G when you've gone for a while. Now, I have one more piece of good news for tonight. Now, it's windy and it's still bright sunlight right now, but tonight it's a full moon night, and we've just checked. The moonrise is somewhere around 2030. So I think it's fair reason that we can tone up our expectation for tonight a little bit more.
Wow, it's nice that we can get a view of the full moon as the backdrop of this rocket launch. That'll be really incredible. Thank you very much, seeing you live for us at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. You're now watching our special coverage of the launch of China's Shenzhou 18 crewed mission. The 3 taikonauts have entered the cabin, and the spaceship will blast off from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in less than 2 hours. So stay tuned to that. And before that, I'll hand things over to my colleague Xiaocheng for some major news making headlines across the world. Xiaocheng.
Thank you, Qiuyuan.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our continuing live coverage of Shenzhou 18. We're listening in there to some live audio coverage coming in from China as they talk through today's countdown to launch. We're continuing to monitor different live coverage as we continue to count down now 1 hour, 52 minutes, 22 seconds, and counting. You are looking at a live view from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in China, where the Shenzhou 18 crew is now on board, ready for today's flight. The internal hatch has been closed. We're waiting for confirmation that the capsule hatch and the fairing hatch have also been closed. Once we have confirmation of those, we'll continue checking those off on the side timeline. We'll also be waiting for pad clear. It's normal for this to take some time. You can see the crew there going through their checklists in preparation for today's mission. Their hatches or their visors are still open. Good sign that we are continuing through the timeline. They are still comfortable and going through preparations for today's flight. Lots of people tuning in from absolutely all over the world. It's great having you all here. We got Steve in Houston, Texas. I see Sumia, sorry for saying that wrong, in India. We got Chaz in Birmingham. We got Just Yash in India. Great to see you here. We got Mystic in Auckland, New Zealand. Andrews in Sydney, Australia. We got Shane in Calgary, Canada. Great to see another Albertan in the chat. Welcome. If you haven't yet, take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We're continuing to watch these live views as we continue to count down to launch of the Shenzhou 18 mission. You're seeing a live view from the pad view, but also on board the Shenzhou 18 re-entry capsule where the crew is currently ingressed. If you guys have questions, you can keep sending those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those live to the best of our ability while we continue through today's countdown. And if you haven't yet, take a moment and engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, docking, undocking, or return to Earth. If it's your first time here, though, let me reintroduce myself. Welcome, my name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad, and here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. And if we bring you full live launch coverage, docking, undocking, and return to Earth coverage, as well as space news updates, exclusive one-on-one interviews, and more. There's the view we were looking for. You can see that internal hatch is closed from the inside, but we're waiting for the other hatches to be closed on the outside while we continue through the timeline of events ready for today's flight. Now, with any China launch, we don't get a ton of information. Obviously, we know who the crew is, we know where they're going, but that is pretty much the maximum of what we actually know at this point. As we get updates, we are bringing them to you as we continue through the coverage. Taking a look at the week ahead, it is a busy end of the month, though. Shenzhou 18, not the last launch for this month. On Sunday, April 28th, we have a Falcon 9 launching Galileo FOC FM25 and FM27. We also have Starlink 6-54 on Sunday, April 28th as well. We hope you'll join us back here live for both of those. Continuing to listen in as we continue through our live launch coverage. Stay with us. L-minus 1 hour, 49 minutes, 15 seconds, and counting.
驾驶员，第3号，第1次综合检查正常，开源。第1次综合检查正常，未能。第1次综合检查正常，提早。第1次综合检查正常，请全。第1次综合检查正常，提升。第1次综合检查正常，上场。第1次综合检查正常。第1次综合检查正常。
叶光富。航天员李聪。航天员李广苏。出发。是。敬礼。 时准备完毕。太原2小时准备完毕。渭南2小时准备完毕。青岛2小时准备完毕。酒泉2小时准备完毕。青山2小时准备完毕。双城
2小时准备完毕。
5号
2小时准备完毕。
天津2小时准备完毕。北京东风报告，我是北京东风局长。东风2小时准备完毕，报告完毕。
important point for the launch procedure. You see now on the right of the screen is the camera, video camera mounted in the re-entry capsule, and you can see that all the 3 crew members of the Shenzhou 18 have already been ready.
That is
and now you can see the launch service tower. You may notice that at this moment,
got to mention the call out.
Yes,
it's now
and you may
officially
notice it's
less
very
than 1
interesting.
hour to
Look,
go.
The top platform, there are 4 platforms on the launch service tower, but the one on the top has already been rotated, opened. So you may notice that at this moment, the emergency escape tower has opened to the space. So if anything wrong happened, we can use the emergency escape system to save the lives of our astronauts.
What kind of procedures have been completed by now? I mean, have the hatch been closed?
I believe at this moment, all the hatches has already been closed, and the airtight ceilings has already been attached. And at this moment, they still have some ground staff, either from the astronaut system or from the mainly from the Shenzhou spaceship systems, still do some logistics for the launch. And just several minutes later, all of them will withdrawn from the launch complex. But at this moment, still, as you mentioned, the checking is still going on. So there are, millions of parts and components in the carrier rocket and also in the Shenzhou spaceships. So we must ensure the reliability and the proper procedure of every subsystem. So the checking are very, very necessary for different systems. So this is still going on.
Yeah, weather looks quite nice. We've got clear sky. It's getting dark. And for more details at what's happening there at the launch site, we can go live to our reporter Sun Ye, live for us near the launch pad. Sun Ye, bring us the latest. What is happening right now?
Hey there, Qiuyuan. Hello again from 1.5 kilometers from the launch pad. I have to break a bit of sad news to you. Remember, we were talking about today is a full moon's day, and the moonrise is somewhere near 9 o'clock in the evening. Now we just checked the weather, the clouds. They're kind of too cloudy, so we're not necessarily going to see the moon tonight. But we'll wait. We are still keeping our hopes high. But in the moment since we last talked, we also talked to an expert, and he said the 3 taikonauts now in the capsule, they're doing just fine. They're monitoring the Shenzhou 18 crew's heart rates, they're breathing, and they're calm, and they are fine. Now the experts say today's taikonauts, they're essentially responsible and expected to do everything their predecessors have done and more. And this year we really get a sense of what that more really means. Now China Manned Space Agency said yesterday that today's active taikonauts as well as future taikonauts, including the 4th generation of taikonauts that's already been selected. These people, they're not going to only work for China's space station, they're also going to be preparing for China's manned lunar missions. And those manned lunar missions means a whole different set of skills required of Chinese taikonauts. They're going to be operating a different spaceship, a spaceship for the moon. They're going to do a lot of maneuvers different from what they've been preparing for China Space Station. Also, they are going to lunar rovers for long distance on the moon. So there are a lot of things happening right now as the Shenzhou 18 crew ready for their mission, and these people could also someday make it to the moon. Qiuyuan.
Very exciting now. Thank you very much. So you live for us near the launch pad at Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. We're officially less than 1 hour to go till the liftoff, and to learn more about the spacecraft carrying the Shenzhou 18 mission, reporter Zheng Yibin talked to a senior researcher for the spacecraft system.
The Shenzhou 18 is a 3rd manned spacecraft for mission to China Space Station. It has the same design as Shenzhou 16, 17, and the following 19 spacecraft.
From the general technical state, there are the orbital module, the re-entry module, and the propellant module. And there are solar panels and the engines. They are consistent with the previous technological designs.
The biggest difference this time is an upgrade to the spacecraft's battery, replacing the cadmium nickel battery with lighter and smaller lithium one, which has a much longer life.
The Shenzhou spacecraft as a manned vehicle requires the highest safety and reliability. The upgrade to the battery has been fully verified in our space station, cargo ships, and other spacecraft.
And if you are just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. We are now just under 55 minutes and counting till the launch of Shenzhou 18 from Site 901 or SLS-1 at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in China. The 3 taikonauts are on board going through their pre-launch checks. The first of the 2 of 3 hatches have been closed, and that final hatch was going through final checkouts as we prepare to see the pad clear and the rest of those platforms open here. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. My name is Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the launch pad here at TOP. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. You can see some vehicles approaching the pad, likely there to recover the launch support team as we prepare for the final points of this countdown. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us as we continue through today's countdown. We're answering your guys' comments and questions in the chat. You can send those in by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we will work on answering those live. This is the 18th Shenzhou mission, but the 13th crewed mission. Today's destination, the Tiangong Space Station in low Earth orbit. We'll continue to listen in to live commentary updates as they come in from the Launch Control Center as well as the China coverage. So stay with us as we count down L-minus 53 minutes, 15 seconds and counting till launch.
10、9、8、7、6、5、4、3、2、1，起飞。T0两动时，动5分5拐秒243毫秒。T0两动时，动5分5拐秒243毫秒。
我是东风，各号请收集第二次综合检查情况。金山。
金山明白。
华山。
华山明白。
08号。
第二次综合检查正常。
太原。
第二次综合检查正常。
渭南。第二次综合检查正常。青岛。第二次综合检查正常。酒泉。
第二次综合检查正常。
千山。
第二次综合检查正常。
双城。
第二次综合检查正常。
5号。
第二次综合检查正常。
东风，我是华山。东风，我是景山。
我是东风，景山请讲。我是东风，景山请讲。
景山、江阴、天路、长江7号第二次综合检查正常。
东风明白。
东风，我是华山。
我是东风，华山请讲。
华山第二次综合检查正常。
东风明白。
And if you are just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You are looking at live views from Site 901 or SLS-1 at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in China, where we are L- 43 minutes, 5 seconds and counting. And the second of 4 platforms has now begun retracting away. This is the launch tower that has protected the Long March 2F rocket in preparation for today's flight, giving crews access to all different points on the vehicle. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad. If you haven't yet, take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from, and we'll do some shout-outs there. If you have questions, you can send those in the chat. You can even see crews still walking around on the platforms as they retract away, as we are now just 42.5 minutes away. 3 taikonauts are now on board the Shenzhou spacecraft. The 3 hatches are closed, and we are waiting for pad clear to begin. And the launch tower retraction has obviously begun, so we're going to update our timeline there. As always, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those live as we continue through today's live coverage and launch of the 3 Chinese taikonauts on board the Shenzhou spacecraft up to the Tiangong Space Station. With the fairing hatch closed, we are waiting for pad clear to be underway. This will be taking place over the next 20 minutes or so as we continue through the final parts of today's countdown. If you never joined us for a China launch before, welcome. We have some absolutely incredible rare views coming in from down at the launch site, from Site 901 or SLS-1. You can see there a full wide shot of the pad, another launch site out in the background there, but incredible views coming in today. Weather looking really good for today's flight. It is a full moon. We were hoping that we'd get to see the full moon during flight, but current weather conditions are showing that it's going to be cloudy, but we'll hope that some of those will maybe be able to blow past as we continue to follow along with today's countdown. People tuning in from all over the world. We got TJ is in Canada. Great to see you. We've got Noah in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Robert is in Poland. Cody is in Mississippi. We got ZD in Prague, Czechia. Welcome. I see we've got Taiwan in the chat as well. More Mississippi. We got David from Largo, Florida. We got Nana from Queensland, Australia. Tim is in Montgomery, Alabama. Jessica Stars checking in. Dreamland's checking in. Great to see so many regulars in the chat. If you happen to be your first time here, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, docking, undocking, or return to Earth, on top of our exclusive one-on-one interviews, and starting soon, our space news updates and factory tours. We bring you full live coverage of every launch from around the world if we can get a live camera there, either from us or through a partner. As we are media accredited with many of the space agencies, we're going to be taking you some incredible places over the next 18 months around the world for some exclusive views, tours, interviews, and launch coverage. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button. If you like what we do and our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because space is better together, there's 3 ways you can support us. 1, hit the subscribe button, hit those notification bells, and join us here for our videos and live coverage. 2, you can consider joining us on our Discord. That's where our community hangs out in between streams, and we'd love to see you in there as we launch some community events starting up next month. And you can hit that join button down below. For just 99 cents a month, that you turn your name green, you get that helmet next to your name, and all that goes into expanding our equipment and bringing you even better coverage. And on top of that, if you want to go even one step further and you want to be part of the crew, consider sending in an application. Interviews are underway. We are excited to be bringing more people onto our crew to bring you even better live commentary launch coverage, better moderation in our chat and our Discord, and as we get ready to launch an all-new tlpnetwork.com with a launch calendar, launch mission briefings, a new site, and more coming in the coming months. We are looking to start bringing on new journalists and researchers / historians as we try to bring you the first ever fully complete platform of all of human spaceflight, all in one place with verified information. So consider hitting that application button in the chat, and to keep an eye out for an email if you get selected for an interview. But you are here for our live coverage of Shenzhou 18. There's a live view inside the re-entry capsule of the vehicle. Today's vehicle is basically 2 balls that will be launching that are inside the fairing. We were watching as they closed the 3 hatches, and I think it's fair enough to say we are going to tick along on that timeline now to fairing hatch close, and we are in the process of having pad clear as they retract the platforms away. You can see it looks like 2 of the 4 have now fully retracted, and we are waiting for those final 2. The final one we expect to be the one that is around where the capsule is. They're going through their final hatch closure checks and closeouts now that the taikonauts are on board. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we'll work on answering those live. If you ever need to get in contact with us, you can always send us an email, contact@tlpnetwork.com. And while we wait for launch, take a moment, head on over to the Launchpad shop and check out our incredible Rocket Chasers prints and some of our TLP launch gear. New stuff being added every few weeks, so definitely stay tuned for more, but pick up some launch gear. That also goes in to supporting what we do. With all the YouTuber stuff out of the way, back to what we're here for, the launch of Shenzhou 18. We're answering your guys' comments and questions in the chat, so you can send those in by tagging us at the launch pad. Matthew is cooking breakfast while monitoring. I hope you're going to send us some, Matthew. It's been an early morning getting ready for today, and a breakfast sounds good, but we're glad to have you here. T-minus 37 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. We are listening in to the callouts coming in on the control feed. For anyone worried, we have matched our T0 clock with theirs, so though it is covered a little bit with our mission objective timelines, we are in perfect sync with their clock, so that clock is in the top right corner of your screen. If you haven't yet, take a moment, share out the stream, and we'll continue listening into Mission Control as we go through the final minutes of the launch countdown, as we count down to the launch of 3 more Taikonauts to the Tiangong Space Station in low Earth orbit.
神舟，我是0号，现在起，神舟18号由0号指挥。
tower has opened,
Yeah.
except for the last part that is enclosing
Exactly.
the spacecraft.
You see, for the launch complex, we built that in 1990s. It has 4 rotational platforms, but very interesting, the first one on the top will be opened. And then we open the other 3 ones from the bottom to the top. But you know that because the emergency escape system must be activated just very close to launch, so that must be opened first. And then, as you mentioned, the one on the bottom will be opened, so we can first see the 4 boosters and the core stage. You know that Long March 2.
So we've got some
Yes.
movement coming up.
Okay.
Opening.
Maybe this is the last platform.
各号注意，我是0号，30分钟准备，长征。
30
That's
minutes.
T minus 30 minutes. Yes, that is the spacecraft. You can see this is the fairing covering the spacecraft. And right now the 3 astronauts are strapped in.
08号。
The weather looks quite nice, Professor. So what would be an ideal weather for a launch like this?
The ideal would be we have clear air, we have no wind or very little windy days, we have low humidity, and of course we don't want it to be a rainy day or even lightnings. We want to keep clear from all the lightning or other, say, extreme conditions.
Now, space launches, it's said that they don't usually take place in April because of the risk of strong winds and sandstorms. So they are taking a bit of a risk here.
Yeah, I think because of usually in the spring, even we're in Beijing, we feel the weather changing dramatically in April. Yeah, that's pretty much the same in the northern part of China. Yeah, so usually they try to prevent this period, but as Professor Yang mentioned, they have specific reasons for a lot of prerequisites need to meet in order to fit the schedule of the launching.
One important factor we must consider is that because in this operation phase of our Tiangong Space Station, we must have 2 rocket launch in the Jiuquan satellite launcher. The interval is half a year. So maybe one of the season is, for instance, August will be very ideal. But if we launch that Shenzhou Space Station in August, which means that after 6 months, it will be in winter, extremely cold weather. So that will be not very feasible. So the most ideal choice will be one in spring and the other in autumn. So that will be better, not too bad for us.
This is a great view of the rocket. You can see the full rocket by now. Is the rocket running on its own?
No, at this moment you can see that they're not, although already all the rotational platforms has already leaving the rocket, but you can still see some small arms, mechanical arms connected to the launch vehicle. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of cables, pipes, and other connections to the launch vehicle. So at this moment, still we use electricity from the ground. So this is to save the energy in the storage batteries either inside the carrier rocket and also inside the spacecraft. So only several minutes before the flight, we change the power supply from the ground electricity power supply to the inner storage batteries. So this is also obviously is a very critical procedure for the launch, but you know that usually nothing serious. But not only these, you know that we choose what we call the hypergolic propulsion system, which use the UDMH or unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide as the fuel and oxidizer. For both these propellants can work in room temperature, so very convenient for use, but it is toxic and corrosive. So you may notice in the Wenchang spacecraft launch site, we use another choice, use cryogenic propulsion system, which use liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen.
And when will the team be leaving the launch tower?
I believe most of the ground staff now at this moment has already left the launch complex, but maybe still remains because you know that they leave the launch complex with different batches. So some are in charge of certain subsystems. When their task has been accomplished, they will leave. And then maybe some critical systems still needs the logistics, so they will leave at the last moment.
And the safe
maybe
zone,
10 minutes or 15 minutes before the flight.
The safe zone is at least 1.5 kilometers away, and we are A little more than 25 minutes prior to the launch, the Shenzhou 18 crew is taking a self-sufficient ecosystem with it to the China Space Station. The experiment they would be working on involved the second most complex vertebrate the space station has ever seen. Sun Ye has this report.
4 zebrafish, 2 females, 2 males, a bunch of hornwort. In a watertight fish tank the size of 2 or 3 water bottles, China Space Station's first experiment on vertebrates other than human beings looks something like this. The project on aquatic life support system in space is part of the many science studies the Shenzhou 18 mission will undertake. Professor Wang Gaohong, one of the scientists behind this lively experiment, says the aim is to keep the small ecosystem self-sufficient, where the homeward conducts photosynthesis with LED light and let the fish be alive and happy for a month. So happy that they may lay eggs.
Taikonauts would take care of the fish tank. For instance, if the fish lay eggs, they will help in collecting the eggs. They will also take water samples. We will monitor the changes in the water samples. We will also videotape the fish tank and see how the fish behave.
Wang said the scientists prefer that the group stays limited to 4, lest a bigger crowd crashes the system. But even if it's small size-wise, the self-circulating ecosystem could be telling the scientists something big.
Zebrafish are lab rats in water, and they're quite close to us humans. They share over 80% of our genes. Some human diseases can be studied using zebrafish as model organisms. Since water occupies such a large part of our Earth, in the long term, the study of this aquatic ecosystem would help us better understand the Earth's ecosystem.
In time, the experiment could also lead to some real-life use in space. Wang said fishes are efficient sources of food and also said the team is eyeing to scale up the experiment in the future, where fish can live a whole life cycle in space, from egg to another egg. 深夜40天酒泉甘肃 Province.
So, Professor Sui, you're pretty excited about the studies on zebrafish in space. What kind of real life implications would that have on our daily lives?
So, as we discussed, I think about 2 hours ago, that this experiment is very excited, is bringing this very vibrant fish to the space. So, zebrafish is a very important animal model for biological study. In the field of animal study, we have fruit flies, zebrafish, mice to be the very standard used animals to study a variety of different diseases and also biological processes of animals. And zebrafish as the very simple but also very close to our human beings vertebrate. Yeah, so it's a vertebrate comparing to fruit flies. They are non-vertebrate. But in the future, we may have more complicated, complex biological systems in the space. But this is actually a very important and very complex species in the space. As the reporter mentioned, is we actually share 80% of our genes with zebrafish. And zebrafish, our scientists has already sequencing the whole genome of this animal. Yeah, so the study of this animal can go into very details on the behavior level, on their mechanics and biological micro scale level, and also on the very micro, say about their genes, about their molecules on that level too.
What other studies or scientific experiments have caught your eye?
The others are some stem cell experiments. Although those I would expect one day there are animal stem cell experiments, but right now they're doing plants stem cell experiments in space, because on Earth we know that stem cells are the very important cells that can grow into any specific cell type. into our body or into into the animal or the plant, right? So understanding their behavior besides our regular gravity condition in those microgravity space would probably lead to some new findings on how they grow and how they prosper. Yeah, and probably will lead to a future of, say, better economy of plants. Yeah.
Now, other than these scientific experiments, another major task for these crew members are major maintenance upgrades, right? They would use some of the spacewalks to do some maintenance work and make the spacecraft more collision-proof and crash-proof. Talk to us more about that. What kind of risk will the space station face while they're in orbit?
Well, Chuan, you may still remember during the live coverage of the Shenzhou 17 mission, we mentioned that the Shenzhou 17 mission conducted the first maintenance during the EVA, actually speaking, to repair our solar panels in the Tiangong 1 core module. This is because, that according to the announcement yesterday by Mr. Lin Xiqiang, some parts of our solar panels on the Tiangong 1 core module were damaged by the space debris because it's already orbiting the Earth for more than 3 years. So it is a serious problem. You see that only some unimportant parts were impacted by this debris. So nothing serious happened, but still we recovered the function of the solar panels by our EVA. But you cannot be sure that for the next 10 years, some of the space debris may hit the critical parts of our Tiangong Space Station. We have a lot of pipes, cables, and other critical things outside our station. And the important thing is that these parts are very critical for the normal operation of our space station. Also, that during the live coverage of the EVA of the previous missions before, we have the operation of mounting some motors for the cooling system of Tiangong Space Station, some pumps. And these pumps are also very important to keep the thermal control or keep the temperature very normal inside the station. But that there are coolant inside these pipes. If it was heat, there will be leakage. Very, very terrible. So we must protect these pipes and also some very critical cables, either for the maintenance or for the scientific research. So what you mentioned, this step is very, very necessary. So this will be one of the major tasks of our Shenzhou 18 crew. I believe that they've already been well trained for this.
Yeah, as you were speaking, we were looking at live pictures near the launch pad. There were huge crowds of people watching, waiting for the liftoff, watching the historic moment with us. Now, as we speak, the 3 astronauts are already in position, strapped in. Not much of a movement there. They are quietly waiting for, the final procedures, the final checks up. We're approaching 15 minutes prior to launch.
Yes.
And you mentioned Shenzhou 17 crew, right? The Shenzhou 18 crew will be welcomed by their peers from the Shenzhou 17 crew.
There is a very, very interesting experience of the Shenzhou actually speaking, Shenzhou 17 crew and Shenzhou 16 crew. That during the launch of the Shenzhou 17 spacecraft, that Shenzhou 16 crew is watching the live coverage inside Tiangong Space Station. And when your colleagues of the CMG see this video, and she, actually Ms. Lao Chunyan, say hello to Mr. Jing Haipeng, the commander. And it is very interesting that Jing Haipeng react to her greeting. So
it's
this
like
shows that the communication between our Tiangong Space Station and the ground is already very, very powerful now.
Very smooth connection there. I'm sure the Shenzhou 17 crew are watching
the live coverage.
Of this launch as well. With our Mandarin service, we might be able to see them later in the program. Very exciting moment.
Yeah. Because we know that we have the Tianlian data relay satellite. At this moment, we have both the first generation and the second generation Tianlian data relay satellite. So we have multiple video streams, very high definition video streams, multiple from the cameras mounted in everywhere inside our Tiangong Space Station to give these videos to the ground. So we can, during this live coverage, not only the astronaut inside our Tiangong Space Station can see the launch procedure, but also we can see they are watching the live coverage.
Yeah, so the Shenzhou 17 crew and Shenzhou 18 crew will conduct another in-orbit handover.
Yes.
So we will see 6 astronauts in the space station at a time. Would that be a challenge?
This will be the 4th time we see this historical moment between the Shenzhou 17 crew and the Shenzhou 18 crew. That will be a very exciting moment, but not so exciting as the first one, because you know that we've already been very practical for this procedure, and also you know that to support and or to realize this moment, we need the support from the what we call the regenerative environmental control and life support system, because it is it can recycle all the resources, the water, oxygen, and so on. So at this moment, still you can see usually in most cases we can see the video camera mounted inside our re-entry capsule. Usually the commander and his companions usually sometimes read the manuals. You may notice that the manual not only includes the operations, the guidance of what they should do next, but also it has information, very necessary information when something wrong happens, what they should do.
Yeah, that's the call out T-minus 15 minutes. And we've noticed that all the Shenzhou 18 crew were selected from 2010 and 2020. That's the second batch and the third batch of astronauts. And we're hearing rumors that the selection process for the 4th batch of astronauts will be finished soon. When do you think these new taikonauts will start their mission?
调度直通波，金山，
金山明白，
华山，
华山明白。
You know, that's during the 3rd batch of our astronauts, we already have flight engineers and payload experts. Mr. Gui Haichao from the Beihang University is the first payload expert. So in the future, because our technology becomes more and more practical and the Shenzhou space become more and more comfortable, so I believe professors like Mr. Sui maybe will be more and more of these scientists like him to go to the outer space.
Like a payload
expert.
And according to authorities, it's very likely that these new astronauts could be a part of the moon landing mission in the very near future.
Well, according to Mr. Yang Liwei, our first astronaut, he mentioned to the major media of China that all the astronauts chosen for the human missions to the moon will first have their experience inside our Tiangong Space Station. Right. So this is a necessary requirement raised by ourselves. Yeah. I believe, as I mentioned, their experience in the Tiangong Space Station for half a year will be very, very helpful for them for the future moon missions, although the procedure is quite different.
And there were several candidates from Hong Kong and Macau making it to the final stages of the selection process. So, you know, we could see new astronauts from these regions very soon. Let's get more updates from the launch pad. We can now go live to our reporter, Sun Ye. Sun Ye, great to see you. Also, Huang Yue is joining us from the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. Hey, great to see you too. So let's start with Sun Ye. Walk us through the preparations prior to the launch. We're getting really close. How are the astronauts doing now?
Hey there, Jiuquan, and hello again. Yes, the preparation is going at the last stage right now. It's minus 15 minutes until the launch. So throughout the last half an hour or so, we're seeing the last fires of cars leaving, and that means the rocket and everything in it is pretty much on its own, and they are ready. And then the astronauts, we earlier checked in with an expert with the astronaut system, and he said the Shenzhou 18 crew, they are doing fine. They're breathing all right. Their heart rates are fine. Now, this is only probably the only chance we'll get to see the rocket here in its hull and this spectacular scene. I think maybe it's all right if we take around a minute or so to have a good look, a last look at it before it goes up to space. Now, this Long March 2F manned carrier rocket, it actually came in compartments, in pieces, and was carried by train from northern China to here in Jiuquan in northwest China. And I think you're getting a better picture than me now, and I'm going to walk you through how this beautiful rocket is put together. Now, the first step is to put the core stage 1. That's the first thing to get stable, and then the 4 boosters, they are then attached to it, and then that's the core stage 2. The spaceship along with the fairing, they are close together in another place before they are transported to meet the other 2 stages already done. And the last item in that assembly is the escape tower. Now, the rocket has been in great condition ever since that assembly, and we have seen it rolled out earlier last week. And ever since then, it's checks and rechecking done by people across the systems. We also just talked to an expert with the rocket system. His work up until now is still checking that the rockets are fine, and the rocket is fine, and the spaceship is fine so far as we know. So everything is set for the launch that's happening in a few minutes.
Thank you very much. And as you were speaking, so here, the launch time has been adjusted, has been moved up a little bit, just a little bit. Now turning to you, Huang Yue, the Beijing Aerospace Control Center is overseeing Shenzhou 18's launch. What's the latest there?
Yes, Jiuquan, the launch time is just around the corner, only a few minutes left. So here in the Beijing Aerospace Control Center, every staff member is busy making the last-minute preparations, as it's the command and information exchange center, to ensure that every step and every aspect of the mission runs smoothly. So we're now actually on the third floor of the center, and on the first floor is the ground control team, and which is mainly responsible for the control and command over all working systems, such as those on the rockets, the spacecraft, the space station, and the launch site. And actually, if you and our audience once followed our previous missions, you might have already known that this team has a very special nickname called Beijing Copy, because this phrase once became so popular on Chinese social media platforms because it's going to be used so frequently and repeatedly in the hall after launching. And actually, I arrived here hours earlier before the launch because, to be honest, this is also the first time for me to cover the launch mission. So I came here earlier trying to get more familiar with the situation. And one of the things that impressed me the most is that the team members here are quite young, and many of them are in their 30s or even 20s. So you can tell that people born in the 1990s have already become the main workforce for China's aerospace industry, and they're so calm and confident. It doesn't mean that they won't get nervous. Of course they could be, but they won't show that because they've already had vigorous trainings and tests, and they are professional enough, they're intelligent enough to deal with any situation. So from them you can see a very promising future for China's aerospace industry. And in addition to the ground control team, behind me there were two screens. As you can see, one shows the launch site and the other one shows a return capsule, and inside there are three taikonauts, the Shenzhou 17 crew members, and they are making the final preparation and waiting for their colleagues to come and meet with them. And I was told that they can actually watch the live broadcast of the mission, but of course they are watching the CCTV 30, the Mandarin channel. But next time I do suggest that they watch CGTN special live coverage, because I'm not worried about their language skills. And I believe they must also be very excited, because after a 6-month business trip to space, on the end of this month they will come down back to Earth, and they will meet their friends, families, and colleagues. Back to you, Jiuquan.
Thank you very much. Huang Yue live for us in Beijing there. Now, medical protective measures are important for taikonauts to stay in space for a long time. And for the Shenzhou 18 mission, these are already in place. Li Yinghui, Deputy Chief Designer.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of Shenzhou 18 launching from Site 901 or SLS-1 at the Jiuquan Satellite Center in China. We are now just L-17 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. The crew is strapped in, the vehicle secured, the pad is clear, and we are ready to go. We had a quick sync there of our countdowns. It looks like they added a few seconds to the clock, but everything continuing nominally, now L-7 minutes and counting. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad, and here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. And if you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us for a rare view of a China launch with the 3 taikonauts heading up to the Tiangong Space Station. The Shenzhou 17 crew is awake and on board Tiangong, watching today's live stream as they await their 3 new taikonauts to join them, and then they will begin their journey home. As always, if you have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. The vehicle on your screen is a Long March 2F rocket going for its 23rd mission in its flight history. This is a brand new vehicle as it's not reusable. The vehicle stands 58.3 meters tall with a fairing height of 19.11 meters, and within that is where the Shenzhou spacecraft is. It has 4 strap-on boosters, as you can see there, and is a 2-stage launch vehicle. Now looking inside the re-entry capsule, that's where they will launch as well. There is a second part of the capsule which they'll be able to get into once they are in an orbit. L-5 minutes, 50 seconds and counting. As it's rare to go through these, we're going to listen in to the final minutes of the count rather than give a commentary there to get the latest updates. But as always, when we get into these final minutes, we want to see that final go, no go from you guys in the chat. If you're not a TLP member yet, consider hitting that join button, get that awesome TLP helmet next to your name, and access to our TLP launch emotes. And make sure you join us over on the TLP Discord to go behind the scenes here at the launch pad as we bring some amazing coverage from around the world from many new countries as we expand our coverage. If you're interested in becoming part of the TLP crew, consider sending in an application. We're expanding our launch commentary team, our moderator team, and as we get ready to relaunch tlpnetwork.com with a launch calendar, detailed mission briefings, and a whole new space news website. If you're interested in being a space journalist or space historian, send in one of those applications as well. T-5 minutes and counting. Let's listen in to the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center mission control as we count down to launch of Shenzhou 18.
Important steps, as we've already discussed, the transfer of power supply from the ground to the launch vehicle itself, and also the activation of the what we call the guidance, navigation, and control system, or the GNC system. And also, as we've already heard many times, the commander in Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, usually we call that the Commander Zero.
Well, they've put down their face shield.
Okay, they close the face mask of the helmet. So at this moment, they have formed the second airtight sealings to as a backup measure to ensure their safety.
And they're still looking at their manuals. What kind of things are on their checklist? You would assume?
There are all kinds of instructions on if you met this problem, how to solve it, how to do any right operation or the right choice.
Yeah, and it's usually very quiet at a launch control around this time as we're getting really close to time zero. Not so much calm going on there except for a few simple commands and the final countdown. And that's because the final status checks by now, most of them have been completed, so that's a good sign. You don't want to hear too much noises around this time.
Yep. And also, you know that today in the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center and in other launch sites of China, we also use UAV, a manned air vehicle, to give a good sight of the launch, the whole launch procedure itself. And also, in every live coverage, we can see from our CGTN coverage, we can see the videos from the cameras mounted on the launch vehicle. So that's also a very good reference for us to ensure the status of the launch vehicle and also everything goes okay.
And you're looking at the launch control. T-3 minutes. I suppose everybody is going through their own task procedure for a final time in their mind. Super focused because this is a teamwork, right? Everybody needs to do their job perfectly right to make sure we have a good launch. Quite a nerve-wracking moment for the flight crew, for the whole launch team.
You may notice that
all of us
rotational arms, some of the rotational arms will begin to move from the fuselage of the rocket. We also mount cameras to monitor the status of these rotational arms because there are very important cables and pipes connected to the launch vehicle.
What do you think is going through the astronaut's mind? I think could be a moment.
Many times for this, you know that from the experience, not with Chinese astronauts, some of my friends, the foreign astronauts, they said they cannot distinguish from a simulation or a real one. So this shows that they've been trained so intensively, and the simulation is feels so real.
To it.
Today, with the VR and AR technology, it becomes more real than before.
Yeah. And really, there's not much they can do for this short period of time. They're being strapped in, things are out of their hands. They're basically relying on their team to get them out there safely.
Usually they will salute before the, maybe several seconds before the liftoff.
We're approaching T-minus 2 minutes, I guess.
Yep. This is a beautiful evening of Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center.
各号注意，我是领号，1分钟准备。各号注意，1分钟准备。
1 minute out. An incredible moment to witness. Truly a magnificent view.
50秒。
The weather is a bit cloudy in Jiuquan, so the reporter mentioned that we may or may not see the moon.
Yeah.
The rotational
Major
arms have already been rotated.
So the umbilicals just pulled away. This is some riveting feed there. You can see the Shenzhou 17
Yeah, as we
crew.
mentioned, they are watching the live coverage.
Yeah. And they have decorated the space station a little bit, put up welcome banners.
Yeah.
20秒。20秒。
20 seconds to go. It's a go for the launch. The Shenzhou 18 is just seconds away from blastoff. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ignition. And at the moment, 20 seconds after the liftoff, we will have a pitch over, which means that the flight direction will change from a vertical one to the horizontal one, to the eastwards.
Just a spectacular view there.
Yeah, you can see the 8 engines working very perfect.
And you can hear the voices from the launch team providing tracking status, saying things are going good. And that's
Great. You can see the videos from the camera mounted, looking backwards.
So these are the side boosters.
Yeah, we can see 2 of the side boosters. And at about, okay, I believe this moment already the pitch over has already been accomplished.
So if things goes well, we could see the escape tower being detached in just a few minutes.
We just heard that the ground stations report that everything goes okay, the flight is normal.
And we can see both the infrared image and the optical image.
Exactly. So at the moment of the 122nd will be the critical step to jettison the escape tower.
So the escape tower is essentially a small solid fuel rocket set on top of the capsule. In the event of an emergency, such as an impending explosion, it'll pull the capsule far enough away from the launch vehicle to allow for a normal parachute land.
Because at the moment of 2 minutes, it's already high enough. So we don't need the escape tower. But still, we have emergency escape engines on the payload fairing. We can see that during the live coverage previously. We can see the trail, as you mentioned, on this maybe infrared image.
Yeah, if it's during the day, we could see it very clearly, but because it's dark.
But we don't have other choices because of the launch window just lie in this moment.
Yeah, so we're relying on the infrared image now. Another critical step coming up very soon.
At the moment, 153 minutes. Okay, great.
Oh, that's the call out.
The emergency escape tower has already separated. And then will be the separation of the 4 boosters.
So you saw a bright flash over there. The emergency escape system have been separated, indicating the initial low-level flight went pretty well.
Yeah, it's already supersonic now. Great.
Booster separation.
The separation of 4 boosters, and then the separation of the first stage.
Immediately.
助推器分离。
1、2级分离。
一级关机，
first
一、二级
stage
分离。
separation. A successful separation.
Great. And the next critical step will be the separation of the payload fairings.
东风、风雪、USB、雷达跟踪正常，
Past
遥
few
测信号正常。
minutes,
东
we've
风
seen a
飞行正
series
常
of。fast maneuvers and status reports there.
Now the combination of the Shenzhou spacecraft and the launch vehicle is flying eastwards. Oh, this is video cameras mounted on the rear part of the second stage. And this camera is inside the payload fairing, looking forward. You can see that's okay.
There you have it.
The separation of the payload fairing.
Roughly 4 minutes into the flight, we are seeing fairing jettison. So now the spacecraft is exposed in space.
I just heard the voice of Mr. Jiuquan for the commander. He reported that the payload fairings, now they can see the sightseeing outside. But I believe 02 and 03 have a better view.
Yeah, they've got a window seat.
Yeah. But there is no aisle seat.
I wonder what they could see from their windows now.
Usually, in the previous missions, sometimes they can entering the sunshine areas, but this moment they are still in the shadow areas of the Earth.
So in about a few minutes, we're gonna see the second stage rocket being dropped. So
well, the second stage works much longer than the first stage, more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now you can see this is the camera the video camera mounted on the second stage.
Is this the time that the crew will feel maximum G-forces?
Usually that happens
right before
at the separation of
separation.
stages, because at the moment the thrust has a certain number, but you know that with the fuel becomes less and less, and the acceleration becomes greater and greater. Usually at the separation of the first stage or the separation at the second stage, they will experience the maximum peak of the G-forces.
So you might want to take a look at these astronauts and see just whether it'll show on their face or, you know, through their body gesture.
But the 3 to 4G is not a big problem for them.
It's nothing for them?
They'll be trained for up to 8 to 10 Gs. And even in 8 to 10 Gs, they can do the right operations.
So the highest G load they're going to feel is around
10. In abnormal
during
cases.
the flight?
No, in this normal flight,
5G?
usually 3.6.
Okay, that's not so bad.
Not so bad.
But that's already a large number for our normal people. Imagine you have 3 more people on yourself, right? So that's the loading.
Usually, how would your body react to that many G-forces?
Usually you just need to say activate more muscles. You recruit more muscle activity to work against that overgravity.
Is there anything that they can do now to offset the effect of high G-forces?
I think the design of their seat and their body posture is already very helpful for them to remove the extra forces. Yeah. So if everything's normal, as we just heard, they are actually in a quite comfortable condition, as they are very used to those in their everyday training. Yeah.
Now we can see on the left of the screen is the video camera mounted on the second stage looking backwards. Our second stage of the Long March 2F rocket have one main engine with a thrust about 80 tons. And also we have 4 vernier engines which control the attitude and the direction. So you can see the video camera monitoring the proper working of these rocket engines. Very bright, but this moment is already out of the atmosphere. Okay. Still, the Shenzhou 17 crew is watching the live coverage. They will meet after 6 or 7 hours.
Very soon, very soon.
I believe our Shenzhou 17 crew have already prepared the breakfast for our Shenzhou 18 crew.
Well, that's nice. And I suppose in a few minutes after the second stage shut down, we are going to see things starting to drift, starting to float.
But you know that's the normal procedure is that we first shut down the main engine. Still, the 4 vernier engines works. And we will adjust the trajectory. Okay, as I mentioned, the main engine shut off. And the 4 vernier engines still working, and we will adjust the trajectory very precisely. So after several seconds, after we have already entered the right orbit, we will shut down the vernier engines. And then will be the separation of the spacecraft.
Yeah, so it looks like the astronauts are feeling a bit more at ease now.
Yes, because you know that because the shutdown of the main engine, the G-forces is not so remarkable now.
Yeah, as the environment is changing from high G-forces to microgravity conditions.
Yeah. So when the shutdown of the Vernier engine, they will experience 0 G.
Yeah, so things will start to be floating if you watch closely. Oh, that's the shot at the solar panel.
Yeah, it's still folded now.
So the next critical step would be
the shutdown of the Vernier engines. Okay. You can see on the bottom right is a 3D simulation, but this simulation is based on the real data, which means that the position, the attitude of the launch vehicle is representing the real status. So you can see the second stage works much longer than the first one because the thrust is much smaller. We have 2 solar wings and each have 4 panels.
I think for the 2 new astronauts, Li Guangxiu and Li Qiu, this will be a very exciting moment.
Changjiang is a space tracking ship. The code, I believe it will be Yuanwang 7 space tracking ship. It's in the Pacific Ocean. And it's already started. Look on the simulation, we look at the dash lines. It's already started. Okay, great. Separation confirmed.
So you can get a really good look at the spacecraft now in that 3D animation. 3 modules, right? Talk to us about it.
Yeah. So the next critical step will be the unfolding of the solar panels. So only with this operation we can have continuous power supply for the Shenzhou spaceship.
So by now the second stage is drifting away in space. The rocket has completed its tasks that send the spacecraft into the planned orbit successfully.
And also from the voice we can hear that our Changjiang 7 or the Yuanwang 7 space tracking ship has already established stable communication with our Shenzhou spaceship.
And a big shout out to the Shenzhou 17 crew. They're watching us.
Yeah, they are more relaxed.
Because they will be getting back to Earth in a few days.
Actually, I believe they will not sleep this evening, this night, because they will be very, very exciting. There are visitors.
Yeah, they'll be back in about 5 days.
Yeah.
And I believe they will bring very fresh food for them.
And they've also made rooms for their friends.
There are 6 bedrooms inside of 3 in the Tiangong 1 comma.
长江7号跟踪正常，遥测信号正常。
But in China's tradition, we don't have a 0 G indicator. Usually in other countries, they have some toy to be the 0 G indicator to show it's floating everywhere.
The ground team is confirming the status with the crew and confirming status of the spacecraft.
And Mr. Ye Guangfu, the commander, and Mr. Tang Hongbo, the commander of the Shenzhou 17 crew, both come from the second line. And this is their second flight mission.
顶山收到，东风。东风收到。3、2、1。
With the separation of the end stage of the rocket, the Shenzhou 18 spacecraft is already in orbit. So next, our ground team will check the accuracy of the orbital parameters. If everything is accurate enough, we can announce that it is a successful launch.
北京明白。
长程报告，太阳帆板展开正常。
太阳帆板展开正常。
Great. The solar panels are unfolded very normally.
And what comes after this? What comes next?
Next will be the examination of the, as I mentioned, we will double check or even triple check with different data resources to check the accuracy of the orbital parameters. because this accuracy is very critical for us to chasing the Tiangong Space Station and the dock visit.
So
we cannot just declare the success just yet. We have to wait for...
We just heard his voice that the antenna for the data relay satellites has already been unfolded very normally. You know that we have a small device to keep connection with our data relay satellite, but we also have a high gain antenna which can send videos from this antenna to the Tianlian data relay satellite. This is also very important for us.
That's a big improvement compared to previous missions.
And it also ensures the very reliable connection between the ground stations and our ground centers to our Shenzhou spacecraft. You know, every mission is risky because you know that there are so many uncertainties. So keep a very smooth communication with the Space Flight Center, Control Center will be a very good insurance to keep the success of our flight mission.
Now looking at the three astronauts,
神舟18号，我是北京。
let's listen in.
神舟18号到。
通报座舱大气环境及身体情况。
神舟18号明白。
We've just heard ground control exchanging a few words with the flight commander, trying to confirm their status.
Air quality.
座舱大气环境正常，航天员感觉良好，完毕。
Yeah, so Jiuquan just said,
feeling good.
Yeah, they're feeling okay. They're feeling good.
长城，我是北京，通报座舱环境。
And the internal environment inside the spacecraft is also good.
北京明白。神舟18号，我是北京，经地面确认，座舱环境正常，可以打开面窗。
神舟18号明白。
We have a very important, very critical subsystem called the atmospheric control system. So as mentioned we heard the voice that the atmosphere inside the cabin is good. So they can open their face mask.
Yep. Another critical step.
You can see they are still busy reading their menu.
Yeah. I mean, a pretty young team we're looking at, in their 30s, 40s. Is this a trend? Are we going to see younger and younger astronauts in the future?
Yeah, I think we're looking forward to see the younger generation of astronauts. They are taking charge of more and more launching missions.
But what's considered as a prime age range for astronauts? Or there's no such thing?
I think it depends from
倾角41.5度，周期1小时30分钟的预定轨道，飞船座舱环境正常，航天员状态良好。北京出轨根数及分离点参数已向各方向发出。东风。东风明白。华山。
We've already got the orbital parameters as announced by the Beijing Flight Control Center. So the perigee is 200 kilometers, and the apogee is 356 kilometers, and the inclination is 41.5 degrees. So it's a very accurate launch.
It'll take an hour and a half, right, for them.
So they will spend 6.5 hours in orbit to chase our Tiangong Space Station and finally dock to the docking port at the bottom of our node.
And that'll be an automated rendezvous?
In normal cases, it will be automatic one. But if anything wrong happens to the automated docking system, as you mentioned, we will switch to the manual docking. And all these crew members were well trained for this operation.
This is the Beijing Aerospace Flight Center. So after the launch, they will be taking over the monitoring job. We're still standing by for an official confirmation declaring the launch as a success.
After coming into orbit of our Shenzhou spacecraft, the control will be switch from our Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center to Beijing Flight Control Center.
So Beijing will take over.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess the ground team are doing some calculations, maybe some adjustment burns
Exactly.
for the spacecraft.
As I mentioned, we based on different data resources to confirm the accuracy of each orbital parameter to ensure that it is accurate enough. Because as we've already discussed, the Shenzhou spacecraft must enter the same orbital plane of our Tiangong Space Station. So this is the most essential and most important requirement to its accuracy. And then, because it is now lower than our Tiangong Space Station, so it orbiting the Earth faster than our Tiangong Space Station. So it is a chasing vehicle, and it come closer and closer, and after 6.5 hours, we will dock together.
天路跟踪正常，遥测信号正常。
天路跟踪正常。
Tianlu is another name of our Tianlian data relay satellite system. So at this moment, it's already out of the coverage of our space tracking ship, and it is mainly based on our Tianlian data relay satellite. As we've already heard the voice, that the high gain antenna has already been unfolded. So at this moment, we can transfer not only the voices, but also can transfer the videos from our cabin of our Shenzhou spacecraft.
Right. You know, China has this three-step strategy for its space exploration. And third phase, which is the last phase, is building its space station. Can we say that we've met that target? What's next for our space exploration?
Yes, we've already accomplished this step. And next, as we mentioned, we are now in the phase of utilization and development. But still, we have a lot of work in the future. For instance, our Tiangong Space Station will be expanded, doubled in the future.
We're now joined by Professor Mark McCong-Reed, a former senior advisor for science and exploration at the European Space Agency in the Netherlands. Great to have you with us, Professor. Now, the Shenzhou 18 has just launched. We are standing by for an official confirmation of the launch success. But what significance does it have for space exploration?
Well, assuming everything's gone well, which it sounds like it has, congratulations to the crew and everybody involved. Going back to the space station, of course, you have 3 astronauts there already waiting for them, and then you will change the crew for another 6-month expedition, as they're often called, on the Chinese space station. This is very similar to what we've been doing for many years, of course, with the International Space Station. And as one of your speakers there just said, this is about building capacity, expanding the space station, and doing research and development, both on the space station, scientifically, doing interesting things there. In fact, one thing, as an astronomer, one thing I'm really excited about is the Zhuntian space telescope, which should be launched to Tiangong, not docked to it, but nearby to it, and doing some very interesting scientific astronomy experiments over the years to come. But it's about that development, building the station, making it an efficient place to do science, but also looking forward, I imagine, to the moon and Mars.
Now, China has said astronauts from other countries are welcome to go to the China space station. It says it is committed to the peaceful development in space. How would you assess prospects for international collaboration in space exploration?
Well, that's a very interesting question, of course, particularly given the current geopolitical context. Without going into too much depth, the world is not perhaps in a happy place at the moment. And exactly how nations decide to collaborate on many things, of course, is something which is constantly in focus politically. And space is a political thing. We should never just think of it in terms of science or exploration. There is a strong political element. But I think it's also worth looking back to the past and looking, for example, at the Apollo-Soyuz test project in the 1970s, and the space station itself, the International Space Station, where, of course, the United States and Russia at the moment have grave differences over the war in Ukraine, but are still collaborating in space. So it's not an easy thing to see into the future and see how that international collaboration may also include China. But I'm optimistic that we'll find ways of doing that, because the things we want to do in space are incredibly challenging and do indeed need to bring nations together to solve some of those problems. And those problems then reflect on the Earth. We have problems on the Earth we need to solve. So being able to collaborate internationally in space also might give us hope we can collaborate internationally, for example, on climate change. So I think it's a tricky question, but let's be optimistic and see that we can actually work together.
Yeah, let's be optimistic. Thank you very much, Professor Mark.
And if you're just joining us, you're looking at a simulated view of the Shenzhou 18 crew on board the Shenzhou spacecraft on its way to the Tiangong Space Station, 23 minutes, 50 seconds into flight. An estimated 6 hours, 30 minutes till the crew arrives at the Tiangong Station, but that is going to do it for us here today at our live launch coverage of Shenzhou 18. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, spacewalk, exclusive one-on-one interview, factory tour, or space news update here on the Launchpad, because here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. Make sure you join us over on the TLP Discord. That's where our community hangs out in between streams. And if you're interested in becoming part of the TLP crew, fill out an application today. Volunteer position interviews are now underway, and we'd love to invite some more of you onto our TLP crew as launch commentators, moderators, space news journalists, and even space historians. And we would love to see some more of you on that team. That is going to do it for me here from our TLP remote studio, currently located in the UK. My name's Zach, and we will see you later today for a spacewalk on board the International Space Station. But for now, we'll see you next time, because space is better together, and go Shenzhou 18.